Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Na Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavajacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. So I think we did 3 and 4, right? So we're on 5. 15:5. Page 596. Oh, you have my book. That's why you have the marker. Just leave. Okay. Just see. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 20th day of November 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person, text number 5 on page 596. Nirmana, Moha, Jitasanga, Dosha, Adhyatma, Nitya, Vinivritta, Kama, Dvandvaya, Vimuktaha, Sukha, Dukkha, Sangyaya, Gachanti, Amudha, Padam, Avyayam Tat, Nirmana Moha Jitasanga Dosha, Sanga Dosha, Adhyatma Nitya Vinavritta Kama, Manita Vinavritta Kama, Dvandvaya Vimukta Sukha Sangyaya, Vimukta Sukha Sangyaya, Gachancha Mudha Padamamvyayam Tat, Padamamvyayam Tat. Nirmana Moha Jitasanga Dosha, Adhyatma Nitya Vinavritta Kama, Dvandvaya Vimukta Sukha Dukkha Sangyaya, Gachancha Mudha Padamamvyayam Tat, Padamamvyayam Tat. Nirmana Moha Jitasanga Dosha, Jitasanga Dosha, Adhyatma Nitya Vinavritta Kama, Dvandvaya Vimukta Sukha Dukkha Sangyaya, Gachancha Mudha Padamamvyayam Tat. Okay, you're on, Tapas. Nirmana Moha Jitasanga Dosha, Adhyatma Nitya Vinavritta Kama, Dvandvaya Vimukta Sukha Dukkha Sangyaya, Gachancha Mudha Padamamvyayam Tat. Bhakta Chad, go. Bhakta Chad, are you there?
Hare Krishna, okay. Nirmana Moha Jitasanga Dosha,
Nirmana Moha Jitasanga Dosha,
Adhyatma Nitya Vinivritta Kamaha,
Adhyatma Nitya Vinavritta Kama,
Dvandvaya Vimukta Sukha Dukkha Sangyaya,
Dvandvaya Vimukta Sukha Dukkha Sangyaya,
Gachancha Mudha Padamamvyayam Tat.
Gachancha Mudha Padamamvyayam Tat. Okay, word by words. Nihi, without, mana, false prestige, mohaha, and illusion, jita, having conquered, sangha, of association, doshaha, the faults. Adhyatma, in spiritual knowledge, nityaha, in eternity, vinavritta, disassociated, kama, from lust, dvandvahi, from the dualities, vimuktaha, liberated, sukha, dukkha, happiness and distress, sangyahi, named, gachanti, attain, amudhaha, the unbewildered, padam, situation, abhyam, eternal, tat, that. Translation. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. Purport. The surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride. Because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the lord of material nature, it is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not Lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. For one who is always expecting some honor in this material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. Pride is due to illusion, for although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he has the foolish notion that he is the Lord of the world. He thus makes all things complicated, and he is always in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. People are considering the land, this earth, to belong to human society, and they have divided the land under the false impression that they are the proprietors. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is the proprietor of this world. When one is freed from such a false notion, he becomes free from all the false associations caused by familial, social, and national affections. These faulty associations bind one to this material world. After this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge. One has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. And when one has an understanding of things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes full in knowledge. Then it is possible for him to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the dark of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, let's see where we've come so far in this chapter. At the beginning, Krishna introduces this upside-down banyan tree, remember? Which is a metaphor for the whole material world, which is a reflection of the spiritual world. That's why it's upside down. But then he goes on in text 2, and he says, well, there's also roots that go down, and there's also branches that go up. So you have roots going up and down, or branches going up and down. So it's very complicated. And he describes, the branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of nature. The twigs are the object of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruit of actions of human society. So then he says, the real form of this tree can't be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything is extended since time immemorial. So that was the text 3 and 4. So this is the process here. With determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Now that's vairagya, because what's keeping us bound in this tree is all of our attachments for different kinds of sense gratification. And they have to be purified. It's not that we're going to stop desiring anything, but we're going to take our desires and through the process of devotional service, purify them. And that's done by beginning with, again, going through this process from faith to love. Adhar Shraddha Tadaksaro Sangata Bhajana Kriya. So the Shraddha is first. Shraddha means faith. And that faith begins with a kind of a sincere interest, that will bring one into the association of devotees. Now, association can be through media. Everyone knows media. It can be through the internet, it can be through books, it can be one-to-one. And that one-to-one association is the most immediately effective. But still, it's very valuable to have these other media, because we don't often have, in many places of this world, there's no devotees, there's no place to find them. But you usually find them, the internet. You find the internet, then you can get the good association. Unfortunately, unless you're guided, you'll be lost in that internet. It's the Tower of Babel, as it said. So, but here, we're very fortunate to have Prabhupada's association and Krishna's association instructing us directly. So here, this, in text 3 and 4, he's describing that tree, and then after the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Now, you remember yesterday I was citing verses in the 2nd chapter, 1st canto, where the sages in Naimisharanya, they asked Sutta Goswami, please describe that dharma by which the soul can be fully satisfied. And that's a very important question, and we should be interested in that also. Because living in this world, you can find out very quickly that on the material plane, you can't always be satisfied. Oftentimes, it's just the opposite, despite your greatest efforts. Things happen, the threefold miseries, it's all unpredictable. You're not in control. This is that you are not in control. There's a higher force that's controlling you. So what is that dharma by which the soul can actually attain that platform of full happiness, which is unending? That's what they're asking. So it turns out, no mystery, that is bhakti yoga. Sabai pungsang, for the human being, paro dharma, the supreme dharma, yato bhakti hokshaje, which engenders, or which produces devotional service to what hokshaja. I described this name, the name for God, for Krishna. It basically means the Lord who's beyond the range of our mind and senses. Ada akshaja. Ja is short for janma, means birth or generation of knowledge through the aksha, through the senses. Aksha is eyes, but it stands in for all the senses. This is the famous ascending means of gaining knowledge. If we don't have the perfect knowledge coming down from Krishna through the disciplic succession, which is transcendental, then we have to gain knowledge by our own senses and our mind and brain. And this is what all the science is. It's called the ascending means of gaining knowledge. But it's always imperfect because 4 defects, right? I like to put them in order. We have imperfect senses, therefore we make mistakes. Probably the classic thing, a little child looks up at the sky and here's the sun and it looks like about this big. It's like it's a quarter, But the father knows, oh no, it's millions of times bigger than that, right? So you make mistakes, inevitably, and you begin to believe things that aren't true, because your senses keep telling them. Like the classic cases, and this is in the prayers of Akrura. He mentions this. Visualize a little oasis in the desert, and there's an animal standing at the edge of the oasis. Right next to his feet, there's a nice pool of water, drinkable water. But he doesn't know it's there. It's overgrown with, some flowers or whatever, foliage. He can't perceive it. So he's looking out in the desert. Oh, there's a nice lake. You see? He runs out into the desert, but there's no lake. It's a mirage. And so this whole material world is like a mirage. It's not what we think it is. We're seeing, oh, this looks very nice. Let me enjoy. You see? And you get something to eat, or the opposite sex, or whatever it may be, and there's pleasure there, and so you want to do it again and again and again. So that plants a desire seed in your heart. It can be very strong, or we call a knot, actually, a rope, that to enjoy a certain pleasure in this world. And after some time, you have many things that you want to do and enjoy. Your whole life is filled with enjoying, and then getting the facility, namely making more money, so you can buy the thing that you enjoyed, and it's like that, and you're entangled. So, but all of those entanglements, those desires, those attachments, have to be loosened and ultimately cut. And not that you become desireless, but that you'll develop superior desires in relation to Krishna. So that's what Sutta Goswami answers the question. He begins with the first verse, as I mentioned, Savai Pungsang Paro Dharma or Yato Bhakta Hokshaje. The devotional service to the transcendent Lord, pure devotional service, is that means, or that dharma by which the soul can attain pure happiness. But there's a qualification to it, and that is a haituki and a pratayata. A haituki means without material motive. Now, we're very familiar with that material motive kind of religion in the West. The church. People go to the church. Why? To get free of sins, because of all the bad things they did the rest of the week, and to pray for some boon. The child is sick, or I need to pay the rent, or whatever. Let me find a good mate, whatever it may be. So that's it. So it's like a business deal, seeing God as your order supplier. There's no question of, oh, let me just serve the Lord for His pleasure. You see? It's all transactional. Now, Krishna says that such people are pious. Remember, he said, Chaturvadha bhajante mam jana sukritanojana. There are 4 kinds of pious people. They're not pure devotees, but they approach me. And the first one is those, very, very common, the largest group, artarti. No. Chaturvadha bhajana sukritanojana arto, just the artos, those who are suffering some kind of misery. It could be a disease, it could be some mental thing going on, they just don't have enough money to pay the rent. Actually, being poor is also arta, not artarti. The first one is trouble, in some trouble. People go to church all the time for that. The next pious person is artarti, which is someone who's interested in gaining wealth. Not necessarily because they're poor, that's arto. But because, like Dhruva is the perfect example. He wasn't poor, he was a great prince, but he wanted his kingdom, greater than his father. So that's not getting rent money, that's something else. That's artarti. His whole goal is to become very, very wealthy. So that was his motive, but he was blessed by the Narada Muni. Narada Muni saw his determination. That's what Dhruva means, fixed. Narada Muni tested him and said, oh, you're too young, I'll teach you later, go back home first. So, okay, if you can't help me, sir, then just let me go, and he went into the forest, little boy, So then Narada taught him. He taught him this discipline, which is very difficult, austerity. But mixed in, there was bhakti. He was supposed to be chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya the whole time. He's chanting the holy name. And in the forest, you set up camp near a little stream. You can do a little deity worship. You can make a just like the gopis when they're worshiping Katyayani. I think this is the time when they're doing it. So they go, because each one of them wanted to have Krishna as a husband, you see. So they went and they bathed, in the lake. And part of it was making a little deity out of the mud by the bank of Durga, of Katyayani. That's another name for Durga. And worshiping her, I forget that means, that's part of it. And praying, please let Krishna be my husband. It wasn't that they were all playing together, oh, please let Krishna be our husband. They were playing, each one was saying, please let Krishna be my husband, right? I don't know if they each knew what the other was. So eventually Krishna comes, he steals his clothes, that's how he answered. It's very touching. But the gopis were pure because really they wanted Krishna so that they could please him. This is the whole thing. In the spiritual world, or in even Boma Vrindavan when Krishna was here, all of the residents, their whole point in life was simply to please Krishna. Now for Mother Yashoda, that was just so much anxiety, tried to keep him safe. She didn't know he was God. He's a little boy, getting into so much mischief. He's going out, or he can hurt his feet on the path, and so many things. But that was transcendental anxiety, maternal anxiety. It's a type of ecstasy, right? So everything is directed toward Krishna. But that's our natural consciousness. But we've lost that. We've taken on an unnatural consciousness of trying to be the enjoyers through these senses. And as life after life, we fail and we die again, we get reborn like that. So this is, he's answering, so the bhakti, in order to truly please the living entity, has to be free of any material motive. This is right at the beginning of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu also. This famous verse, Anyabhilashita Shunyam. This is defining what Krishna consciousness is all about. Bhakti according to Lord Chaitanya's line. Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Jnanavratam Anukulena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. Uttama Bhakti. Because they can also be materially motivated bhakti. It's bhakti tinged by the mode of passion or even the mode of ignorance. But we're looking for pure bhakti in the mode of pure goodness. So what does he say there? Anya, other, abhilashita, desires, shunya, devoid of. Others beside, well then he lists those possible other desires in three categories. Jnana, karma, jnanavratam. So actually two categories. Jnana means, knowledge means a liberation, desire for liberation. That's also an impurity. Just like Lord Chaitanya says, I don't want birth after birth. Let me have this ahoituki bhakti unto you. I don't want nadanam, najanam, nasundadim, kapitam, bhajagadishikam. So he lists the common things that people pray for. Wealth, right? Nadanam, I don't want it. Janam, followers. Let me be a big leader of somebody. No, I don't want followers. Nadanam, najanam, sundarim. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he takes this word sundarim and applies it to kavitam, meaning very beautiful erudition. Kavitam means, or it can mean beautiful wife, like that. Or great knowledge, Jagadishik, oh Lord of the universe. I don't want any of those things. Mama janmani janmani. Now as soon as he says janmani janmani, it means he doesn't want liberation. You see, it's implied. Mama janmani janmani shvare. Now here's what I want. Bhavatad bhaktir ahoituki tuhi. The same word, ahoituki. No material motive. Let me have pure devotion unto you, birth after birth. I don't care if I keep coming back, as long as I can always be situated in that loving, pure devotional service to you. So back to the verse from Rupa Goswami. Jnana karma janavritam. Now, avritam is a very important word. It means covered. The pure bhakti, someone goes to church, but their desire to serve the Lord is covered or contaminated by that material desire that they want, something like that. So such persons are pious, and they can graduate into pure bhakti with the right association. At least they're not out and out atheists. That's what Krishna says in the 7th chapter. So you have the artos, the artartis, jnanis, who are the best, he says. Arto jigyasur means curious. Those who are just curious. People may wander into the temple the first time. They stand in the back, checking it out. What's going on. They're not, but they're benefiting like anything. They're seeing the deities, they're hearing the kirtan, And then if everything goes right in the kitchen, then the feast is very nice, then they'll come back again. Mostly for the prasada, but after a while they get more purified. So the idea is that coming into contact with pure devotion is always auspicious, you see. So, back to our 2nd chapter. So it has to be a hoituki and a pratyata. Now this is the difficult qualifications. It means without any material motive and unceasing. If you really want satisfaction of the soul, you can't, it can't be part-time. Full satisfaction means full-time bhakti. Morning, evening, night, 24 hours, somehow or other you're connected to Krishna. I'm sleeping now, but I'm sleeping for Krishna, so I can get up and do my service, like that. So, ahoituki and apratyata, then yayatma supersediti. Then the atma, the soul, will be superseded, completely satisfied. Now the first benefit of that is the next verse. He describes, and it brings us back to this passage. It says, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha, engaging in the devotional service to Vasudeva, Krishna. Bhakti Yoga Janayati, same word as English, generates. Janayat Yashu, very quickly, Vairagyam. Vairagyam is this detachment that is the prerequisite here, the breaking of the material attachments. Yastu Vairagyam, Jnanam Chayadaho, and along with that comes knowledge, because the knowledge is already in there. Krishna is supplying it, you see. That's right. Vidyavadu Jivanam, in the very first verse of the Shikshastika, that this chanting, which keeps us, it connects us most practically to Krishna through the sound, awakens the transcendental knowledge that we already have in our heart. And the practical way it does, it makes you very interested in everything about Krishna that you can hear. That's also how it practically awakens that knowledge. It induces you to and inspires you to come into the association of the sources of knowledge, which is Krishna himself, and through the Shastra and the pure devotees. So this is the wonderful effect of beginning bhakti, is that vairagya develops. The more intensely and serious you are in practicing, the quicker you'll feel detachment from the things that take you away from Krishna. And that's what's being spoken of here. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. So one cannot, the 3 and 4, the real form of the tree can't be perceived in this world. It's very deeply rooted, and we're entangled in it, life after life, going to branch after branch in different species, We can't understand where it ends, where it begins, where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. That's the same thing, vairagya. Now here it's called asanga. Asanga is another word for detachment. You know, sanga can mean attachment, or it can mean association, because from association comes attachment. So this is the, and eventually in the series of verses, I won't go through all of them, but he describes that, well, what is this bhakti? What is the main quality of this dharma? What is it that we do? And he comes to the point of saying, tasmad ekena manasa, no. Tasmad, oh, I forget the verse. Tasmad. See, I'm forgetting my shlokas. I'm getting too old. Yeah, I think that's it. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sarvatambati shrotavyak kititavyascha dhyayak pujascha nichida. So I did have it. That's another way of forgetting. You actually remember, but you think it's the wrong one. So therefore, he's speaking to sages with one point in mind. Ekena manasa bhagavan sarvatambati. One has to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the devotees. Sarvatambati. How to worship? Hearing, shotavyak, kirtitavyascha, chanting about, meditating, dhyayak, puja, chanichida, worship, and meditating on and worshiping without day and night, nichida. This is the means by which one develops the desire to hear about Krishna. Ultimately, it comes to that. Yeah. So how to develop that desire? Shushusho, very important word is shushusho. It means, Prabhupada would translate it in several ways. Submissive all reception is one. Where you're hearing, your mind is really fixed on everything. You're drinking in the words. Or he would say ardent hearing. You see? Right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, second verse, this word comes in. The second verse is all about the Bhagavatam. What is it? First thing, Dharma. It says Dharma again. Dharma projit kaita voltra. Here in this book, we're kicking out all cheating dharmas. Because Dharma is such a valuable thing when it's genuine. But it can also be fake. It can also be kudharma. Or in this case, Dharma kaitava dharma. Cheating religion. That which presents itself as religion, but is really some kind of scam of somebody trying to, like that. So in this Bhagavatam, we kick out all that materially motivated religion and whatever, Dharma projita kaita votra, paramoni matsaranam satam vejam. It's understood by those who are non-envious, who are sincere in their approach. Dharma put kaitavota padamo nirmatsaranam, without envy. Satam, the devotees, vejam. Vastava matra vastu, this vastava vastu means the actual substance, Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that which underlies everything. Vastava vejam vastava matra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam. Shivadam means this Bhagavatam gives all good fortune. Shivadam. Shivadam Vastava Shiva Trayon Mulanam, and uproots the threefold miseries. So Dharma projita kaita bhota padamone matsaranam satam vejam vastava matta vastu shivadam tapat trayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavatam Srimad Bhagavatam Mahamuni Krite, that's written by the great Muni Vyasadeva. King Vaparaya, Ishvara Sadyo, Ridya Vaducha Deta, Pakrabi, Shushu Shubis Tachana. You see the word Shushu Shubis? It's a variety of Shushu. So, what's the use of any other book? Because by hearing this book with great attention, you see, Shushu, one has the Lord manifest in his heart. In other words, he perceives him there. He's been there all along, right? Ishvara sadyo, quickly. Avarudhyate kritibi shushabis takshanat, before long. So this is a great description of the Bhagavatam. And then the Bhagavatam gives this wonderful little nectar verse, because it's also beautifully composed. The poetry itself is attractive. The Gamakalpataro Galitam Palam Shukamakara Dabasam Yutam. But the Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Mohodaho Rasikabhuti Bhavka. So first you have these two verses, very official verses, full of the subject matter of the Bhagavatam, of kicking out all the cheating religions. But then it says, now they can. So what is the Bhagavatam? It's the ripened fruit of the desire tree of the Vedas. Yeah, you want the medical knowledge? Okay, we got Ayurveda. You want astrological knowledge? Oh, we got Jyotirveda. You want to go to heavenly planet? We got Karma Kanda. So it's like a desire tree. Whatever you want, you can get from the Vedas. But the Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of the whole desire tree of the Vedas. In other words, it's the best fruit of the whole thing. Nagama kalpatador galitam palam. And it's I always remember this word by word meaning. Galitam is semi-soft and easily swallowable. Like one of these mangoes, you cut into it, and in fact, you have to drink it, Because it's Shuka Mukad, and because touched by Shuka Deva Goswami. So I've never experienced it. Maybe you did that. A parrot touches beaks, and it becomes sweeter, Amrita Drava Samyutam. So it's full of nectar, Drava Samyutam, and it's flowing. But the Bhagavatam. So this is an imperative case, You should drink it, old sages. But the Bhagavatam Rasamaliyam. Now I was always confused about this word aliyam, because I know alaya means an abode, just like Himalaya, the abode of cold, ice, right? And there's so many different alayas. So I said, what is this aliyam? Rasam aliyam. It looks like it's the abode of rasa, That makes sense. But no, you should drink it, but the Bhagavatam Rasam, which is the rasa is there. Aliyam means hyphen laya. Laya means liberation. It means the destruction of all external things, and you up to the point of liberation and beyond. Just like we have Brahma, Bhuvana Loka, Brahma, Bhuvana Loka, Punaravartanojana. From Brahma's realm, all the way from Brahma's realm down to this Patala Loka, all the places of return where you're going to come back, birth and death. So we want to get out of it. So this is Layam, up to the point of liberation, but don't stop then. Keep listening to the Bhagavatam, even in a liberated state, and you'll really dive into the nectar. That's it. Muhuraho, again and again. Muhuraho Rasika, or Rasikas, Bhuvi Bhavuka, leading personalities on the earth. So he's speaking to all of these great souls at Naimisharanya. And before that, in the bank of the Yamuna. So back to our verses here. I'm getting a little far afield. So one has to search out, what does it say? Must seek out that place from which, having once gone, never returns. Now that's the spiritual world. And there, surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adyam Purusham, the original person, Papadye, Yatak Pravitti Pasata Purani, who has been, from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Now the result of that is going to be in text 5, which we should read, because this is a very important verse. All right. Nirmana Moha Jitasanga Dosha. No? We did 5? Oh, okay. Well, then I should describe 5. So Nirmana Moha. So here he's describing, as Prabhupada says, how to surrender, and the surrendering process described it very nicely. So one of the thing that sticks out at me in this verse is Jita Sangha Dosha. So here's the prerequisites. One has to be free of false pride, just like Trinadapi Sunichena, be very humble. You see, if you're going to receive the knowledge, that's how you have to approach. So so if you're free from the bewilderment of false pride, without false prestige, the illusion of false pride, and having conquered over the faults that have accrued to you from bad association in the past, which can be lifetimes. See? This is called Sangha Dosha. But the surrendering process to the Lord and surrendering to the process of hearing and chanting, which, allows you to conquer over all of these faults. And this comes up in the Sadhu Sangashtaka. I don't know if you've heard that before. These are 8 verses spoken by Kapila Dev third canto, 25th chapter, text 20 through 27. That's 8 verses. And in the middle of that, he says to his mother, I forget the Sanskrit, but, O mother, by associating with the sadhus and following their path, you will conquer over a sangha dosha, like this. And Prabhupada refers to this verse in the purport to that verse in the third canto. So it's the surrendering to the Lord and the practice of devotional service, how you're able to eradicate all the influence of all of the things and that bad association you've had in so many ways, which you're carrying from life to life. It's all association. Sangha sanjayate kama. Your association produces your desire, you see? And those desires, those strong desires, which are the bad faults of bad association, is what binds us to this world. Sometimes it's described like knots in the heart, you see? So back to our second chapter, is describing if you can get an attraction for hearing, that develops your remembrance. From hearing a lot about Krishna, then you remember. It says, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. That's the third thing. Hearing, chanting, and remembering. So that remembrance, if it becomes very strong and unbroken, is like a sword to cut these knots in the heart. That's where you can get free of all these attractions we built up over ages. You see that? So it says, Yadanudyasina, Anudya, Asina. Asina is the sword, and Anudya is remembrance. The sword of remembrance. Yadanudyasya yukta, karma granti nabandhanam. You can cut those karma knots, you know, which are in the form of big desires and bad, things that happen to you. Chindanti, cutting. Chindanti kovidaskasya kona koya kataratim. Who would not be attracted to Krishna Katha? Because by that you can get remembrance, which by then you can liberate yourself and go back to Godhead. So the whole thing is built on sound vibration, beginning with the chanting of the holy name, of course. So that's I always remember that with this. Adhyatma nitya binavittakama, free. So he's describing one who is liberated, who goes to that place where you never come back. Free of dualities, you know, good and bad, hot and cold, dvandva, and sukha dukkha sangha, material happiness, distress, you know, you take both, you're equipoised. Gachanti, they go, amudha, with free of bewilderment, not a fool. Padamabhyam, to the place that is eternal. I think I pointed out, and as I was reading Bhagavad Gita, I always like to read the Sanskrit, I keep coming along this one word, which appears more than any other in the Bhagavatam, avyayam. Avyayam. Now, you know the phrase janma mrityu jara vyadi? That's a famous phrase. Birth, old age, disease, and death, right? Birth, death, old age, and disease. So that vyadi is the same root as this vyaya, you see? But this is avyaya. No disease, it means inexhaustible, eternal. So here it says this padam, this place is avyayam. It's eternal. That's the spiritual world. And one goes there, no longer a fool, unbewildered, padamabhyanta. And then the next verse is a little description of the spiritual world here in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna doesn't get into it too much, but this next one is famous. So we did 5, so we can do 6. Is that okay? Natad bhasiyate suryo. Let's try it again. Got it? He's got the book next to him, but he's hung up on the computer, see? Let him see. Okay, you ready? Natad bhasiyate suryo nachashanko napavakaha yadgatvana davartante tadhama padamang mama. Okay, before we go on with the translation, the word shashankaha means the moon. Does anyone know why it's called shashanka? You know, the rabbit. You're right. The anka means marked, right? Like it's marked like a rabbit. You can see a rabbit marked. So that's shashi, something called shashi, like that. That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So several places in the Gita you read that once going there, you don't come back. It's going there. Purport: the spiritual world, the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, which is known as Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavan, is described here. In the spiritual sky, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, fire, or electricity, because all the planets are self-luminous. We have only one planet in this verse, the sun, which is self-luminous, but all the planets in the spiritual sky are self-luminous. The shining effulgence of all those planets, called the Vaikunthas, constitutes the shining sky known as the Brahma Jyoti. Actually, the effulgence is emanating from the planet of Krishna, Goloka Vrindavan. Part of that shining effulgence is covered by the Mahatattva, the material world. Other than this, the major portion of that shining sky is full of spiritual planets which are called Vaikunthas, chief of which is Goloka Vrindavan. So why are they called Vaikunthas? Who can say? You know. Tapas knows. Oh.
Vaikuntha means there is no kuntha, means no
What is-
anxiety.
Yes. Place where there's no anxiety, free of anxiety. As long as a living entity is in the dark material world, he is in conditional life, but as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky, by cutting through the false, perverted tree of this material world, he becomes liberated. Then there is no chance of his coming back here. In his conditional life, the living entity considers himself to be the lord of this material world, but in his liberated state, he enters into the spiritual kingdom and becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord. There he enjoys eternal bliss, eternal life, and full knowledge. One should be captivated by this information. He should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from the false reflection of reality. For one who is too much attached to this material world, it is very difficult to cut that attachment. But if he takes to Krishna consciousness, there is a chance of gradually becoming detached. One has to associate himself with devotees, those who are in Krishna consciousness. One should search out a society dedicated to Krishna consciousness and learn how to discharge devotional service. In this way, he can cut off his attachment to the material world. One cannot become detached from the attraction of the material world simply by dressing himself in saffron cloth. He must become attached to the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, one should take it very seriously that devotional service, as described in the 12th chapter, is the only way to get out of this false representation of the real tree. In chapter 14, the contamination of all kinds of processes by material nature is described. Only devotional service is described as purely transcendental. The words padamam mama are very important here. Okay, let's see. Dhamma padamam mama, the last two words. Actually, every nook and corner is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the spiritual world is padamam, full of 6 opulences. The Katha Upanishad 2.2.15 confirms that in the spiritual world there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, or stars. Na tatra suryo bhati na chanda tarakam. For the whole spiritual sky is illuminated by the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. That supreme abode can be achieved only by surrender and by no other means. So, if we want to become attracted to that world, we should read about it, and the best place to read about it is actually in Krishna book, when Prabhupada translated the 10th canto. Now, of course, Krishna book talks mostly about Boma Vrindavan. So you find all of this, Krishna killing all these demons and the struggle, that's also there. But in the spiritual world, there's no demons. Although the Prabhupada says sometimes there may be a hint of a demon, so that the gopis will feel that they're being saved by Krishna. There's a certain rasa there. But there's no real danger there. But what is there? There is just so much lila and keli. Keli is the conjugal lila, is playing like that. But lila in general, Krishna's playing with his friends, and there's this one poem. Maybe you've seen this painting of Krishna swinging on the tree. Have you seen with his friends? So for Krishna and his multitude of friends, a festival of joy each day would bring. A special thrill in Braja's forest glens was riding with him high upon a swing. O Ujjvala, Sri Dhamma, Bhadrasane, just see Vrindavan's bountiful delights. the peacock's dance, the songbird's sweet refrain, the lakes and hills and other scenic sights. All these make this the best place on the earth for us to play all day and herd the cows. Thus Krishna, in a mood of sportive mirth, enthused his friends while swinging from the boughs. So that's just one glimpse, of the spiritual world. But that's every day. Krishna's enlivened, to see this. There's beautiful verses in the Anchal Leela, chapter 1. They're quoted from the Dagda Madhava, play by Rupa Goswami. And it's because Rupa was there with Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. And he had his close associates, Ramananda Roy, Srup Damodar, Sarvabhauma was there. And so they wanted what kind of play are you writing? This is a play, Dagda Madhava, So at first he was very shy. He didn't want to recite anything. So I think maybe Ramananda Roy took the palm leaves and started chanting. And all the verses were ecstatic. So I started memorizing this when I first encountered him, So Krishna's walking into the forest. So he says, Sugandha ma kanda pakadamakadanda simadore vinisyande mandi kutamata pavrindam muhudidam kutandolan mando natabinalash chandanagade mamanandam avrinda vipanamatulan tundalayati. So he's walking in the morning to the forest, and he's describing what he's experiencing. So Sugandha ma kanda, so there's the mango trees, and there's fresh mango blossoms, and there's the mango nectar is oozing from the mango blossoms, and it's very sweet, and so the bees are coming, there's a lot of bees. Sugandha ma kanda pakada makanda vasya madure vinisyande means oozing out. Vandi krita. Now, Vandis, from editing the books, I discovered what this word means. As a panegyrist, that probably didn't tell you very much, did it? What is a panegyrist? A panegyrist is a professional praiser. Like the kings, when they woke up, they didn't have alarm clocks, but they had their panegyrists come in to sing their glories, how they conquered this one, and they're ruling like that. So they'd wake up to their own glories being sung. So the bees are turned into Vandis, panegyrists, by this wonderful fragrance. So what are they singing? They're singing Krishna's praises, Vandi Krita Madhapa. Madhapa means those who drink the honey, that's the bees. Vrindam Muhuridam. Again and again they're singing the beautiful verses about Krishna. And Madhapa Vrindam Muhuridam. Kritandolan Mando. So, and the gentle breeze is coming from the Malaya hills, which are laden with sandalwood, so the breezes are very fragrant. The forests, they're moving the trees, and the twigs back and forth. They look like they're dancing. Kutandolan mando natabin anilaish chandanagader. So anilaish is the breeze, and chandanagader means the chandan is the sandalwood trees. Chandana mamanandam vrinda vipandamatulan tundalayati. Thus, this forest of Vrindavan is increasing my ananda more and more. Krishna says, So it's that one verse. It'll take you there to Vrindavan, and you're experiencing Krishna's experience of the hill. So that's those are wonderful sound vibrations in the writings of the Goswamis, and in the Bhagavatam we'll find so many wonderful descriptions. And by that hearing of those things, you become attracted to that, and that becomes completely fulfilling for you. Like with the oh boy, it's late. The 6 Goswamis. They gave up all material things. They're wandering in the forest. They were in a kopin. They don't even sleep under the same tree, whatever they can get. Practically material is down to nothing, But they're the richest of everybody in the world. Because, what does it say? Gopi bhava dasamritabda lahari kallola magno muhur. That again and again they were diving into the nectar ocean of the love of the gopis for Krishna in all its variety. And they're experiencing that, writing the books and sharing with each other. So that's even on this planet Earth we can see the manifestations of this spiritual world. Well, it's time. So we better adjourn and gather our forces, because there's only a small number of us here. See if anyone else arrives. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll resume on Monday. Thank you for coming. And whoever was on attendance online, how many? Maybe 12, a dozen?